3 of Czabe and Butch in the Morning begins with our chat with Wayne Larrivee, brought to you by Coal Investment Group, the retirement specialist, and by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Wayne, good morning. Tough one last night. What was your big takeaway?
Yeah, my big takeaway, unfortunately, was the Lions are as good or better than I thought they were. And
Yeah.
that was the takeaway. I knew I watched all three of their games coming into that game last night, and I thought they were as good a football team as I had seen. I knew they weren't 100% with C.J. Gardner-Johnson out of the secondary, but that's the best team. I've said this all along. The North Division is theirs to lose. They're the best team in the division. They were the best team in the division at the end of last year, and they're a better team this year.
Well, Matt LaFleur was in quite a state last night. I'd never really seen him quite like that. Have you ever seen him quite like that? And what was your takeaway from a very testy LaFleur, both at halftime and after the game?
Yeah, I think Matt's obviously frustrated. The same problems we've been talking about have continued, and that is inability to run the football. And in some cases, early on in the ball game, they didn't run a lot. I think they started with 6 passes in the game last night, but inability to run the ball and inability, especially, to stop the run. And those are the two. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, guys. Those are the two principles to winning football, even in today's day and age. And if you can't do those two things, you really don't have a big chance to win a football game.
Wayne, I think the question that a lot of Packer fans ask are why hasn't that been fixed? Right? Like everybody knows, Matt, you're calling the plays. Why don't you run it more? It's not that simple. Talk through that a little bit.
Yeah, first off, the left side of the offensive line is out and may be out, for some time, obviously. Bakhtiari's on injured reserve, and, hopefully he'll play later this season, but he's gone for a few weeks now, for 4 weeks, to be honest with you. Then you've got Elton Jenkins out of that lineup. And, this is a situation now, again, Bakhtiari is a great pass protector. Elton Jenkins can do both at left guard, but those guys being out, that's one area in the trenches where you're missing a couple of key pieces. As far as the running game goes, A.J. Dillon has had trouble getting on track, and Aaron Jones has been down due to injury. So it's been a tough sledding. And if you can't run the football, it's hard to throw it effectively, and that's what we saw last night. As far as stopping the run, Butchie, they've done a lot. They've tried drafting, they've tried adding players, that kind of thing. And again, I see them doing some good things. They had 6 tackles for losses last night. But when you looked up at the end of the day, the Lions had over 200 yards rushing, 211 yards, 43 carries, 3 touchdowns on the ground. And that's tough. I don't know what the answers are.
Wayne, one of the things we were talking early in the morning is Czabe came out. There's 3 things that coaches do, according to Czabe: tone, scheme, staff. Tone is 1, scheme and staff is 2, game day tactics is 3. For me, the one thing that I have a concern with the Green Bay Packers is tone, because they've been bullied in the line of scrimmage with Aaron Rodgers and without Aaron Rodgers now. Like, that's been an area where when they've lost to either the 49ers or even yesterday to the Lions, it doesn't matter who the quarterback has been. They've been bullied in those games. And that's the concern that I have with Matt LaFleur. How can he change the tone of this team to be more aggressive, to be more physical in the trenches? Because that's where they've lost a lot of these games.
I think it's a cultural thing, and that's bigger than one person, bigger than one season. I really do. And go back to Rodgers and McCarthy. I mean, what were the Packers? They were more of a finesse team. They were going to beat you through the air with their people on the perimeter of the offense, that type of thing. And they had trouble against teams like Jim Harbaugh's San Francisco 49ers back in the day. And, I'll go back to as recently as the parallel I kept drawing with last night, before last night's game, was that, and I asked LaFleur this in the pregame show. I said, Matt, we had a similar situation a year ago. Emotional come from behind win over Dallas on a Sunday in Lambeau Field. The following Thursday in Lambeau Field, who comes to town? The Tennessee Titans. What do the Tennessee Titans do? The one thing they do is they are a physical football team, and they beat the Packers that night and beat them fairly soundly. At least it felt that way. This year, similar situation. The Packers, that emotional come from behind win over in New Orleans, and then they get, and again, understand something about Detroit now. They haven't always been this way. But under Dan Campbell in the last 3 years, they have steadily gotten more and more physical, and they are the physical aggressor at the line of scrimmage. Tough matchup for the Packers last night.
Wayne, a lot of people were talking about the amount of Detroit Lion fans that were at the game. A lot of people saying, the gold package, ticket holders selling their tickets. Few things. First, I want to know how many, if you had to put in percentage terms, how many Lions fans did you see from your perspective? And then can you talk about your feelings on, the whole gold package fan base, this whole argument of them selling tickets and not showing up?
And I'm a bad judge, okay? But it looked to me like the stadium had 35 to 40% Lions fans in it. That's what it looked like. It
Wow.
just looked that way. I don't know. Were any of you guys, Czabe, were you there last night? Yeah.
We were
there.
there. We were there, and I put the number 18% out there.
And I thought that was low.
Most callers say I'm flat crazy and can't math. But then again, that's
But
what
they
always
say
say
that about
me.
everything.
I know that's any given Tuesday. I can't math.
I mean, I'm probably overstating it. You know what I mean? But it looked like a lot of Honolulu blue in there, and it really did. And by the way, there was a lot of Honolulu blue in Arrowhead on opening night of the season, okay, in Kansas City. There really was. But here's the thing about the Milwaukee ticket holder game. It seems like they get an inordinate amount of Thursday night, midweek nights, Monday night games. It's hard for that fan base in Milwaukee, if it's a predominant Milwaukee fan base, and it is, to make that trek up there and on a work day week and be at that game. And so, yeah, if the Lions fans come to them and you offer them a nice financial package, they sell their tickets. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not going to be down on the people for doing that. I wish they didn't. But I understand some of the genesis for that.
A lot of people said they didn't make any money because they were going for below face in a lot of cases, that it was not just a abundant ticket last night. If you wanted it on the secondary market, it was a fairly cheap ticket. I don't know about that being the case. Just from a procedural standpoint, let me get this straight, Wayne. The league puts out the schedule, and then the Green Bay Packers get to choose which of the games are designated as a gold package game, correct?
Yeah, I think it's always been, though, certain games. I mean, like, I don't know, the second home game and then there's a formula to it.
Oh, there's a formula to it. So they do. There's a formula. There is not. They don't handpick it. Okay, good.
No.
I just wanted to make that case because my thought might be, well, if the Green Bay Packers chose which is a gold package game, and if they know that their citizens and their ticket holders from Green Bay and closer also don't like Thursdays, it's possible they say, well, we're going to take care of them and flip the gold package game to a Thursday. But you say it's a formula, so maybe this is just how it fell.
That's how it's always been. I don't know if it still is today, but I'm not into the ticket business. But there's always been a formula to it, as I understood, and I should pay closer attention to that. But as far as how many, it felt like there was 40%, 35% Honolulu blue in that stadium. I don't know if there was or not, but it just felt that way.
What do they say? The winners take home the girls. The loser cries about the referees. The fans in attendance that were wearing Honolulu blue did not affect the outcome of the game in any material way, correct?
I didn't think so, no.
No. So, in other words, there would have been a lot of sad Lion fans with a long drive home had the Packers done their job. Let me ask about the defense. There's a massive investment in this defense, and they are not exactly impressing people, at least against the run. What is it about the run? They've now given up 2 200-yard rushing games when they just can't stop anybody with a decent back. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where. I'm at a loss, okay, because they do, and it looks to me like they're playing hard. The linebackers are filling. They had 6 tackles for loss in the game last night. That's a good number, but at the end of the day, you look up and all of a sudden Atlanta's got 200 and some yards and Detroit's got 200 and some yards, that kind of thing. And people are getting over 4.5 yards per rush against the Packers defense. People have advanced to me that maybe the safeties don't support well enough against the run. I don't think so. I don't think that's the issue, but the run defense has been light. There's no doubt about that. And, somebody else was pointing out today that it's been like that for a number of years. And that's the number one thing I talk about all the time. You can't be a good defense if you don't stop the run. That's line of scrimmage. That's dominance line of scrimmage. Run the football, stop the run. We've talked about it earlier this year, and that's what you have to do. And I think the Packers have tried almost everything, and they've drafted, they've added free agents over the years. They've done it, but they have not been able to get that particular problem solved. And I think that's really largely where their defense has struggled. All
right, deep breath. Got a little extra time to get healthy. Raider game coming up in Vegas. If you thought the Honolulu Blue was bad at our place last night, wait till you see the green and gold in Vegas in 11 days, right?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Hey, can I add something that's kind of, a positive here? I understand nobody wants your positive.
Please. No, we need positive. Yes.
But, okay. Jordan Love in the first half, 6 of 13 passing, 50 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. In the second half, I understand the Lions are playing differently and all that. Don't get me wrong. But he was 17 to 23. This is the accuracy we've been looking for in this young quarterback. 74% completions, 196 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And again, that's doing that without a running game. And I understand the line. The game's 27-3 at halftime. Don't get me wrong, folks. But that's at least a glimmer of hope. This quarterback can be a high percentage quarterback passer, I think. And I think that, hey, we talked about growing pains. We mentioned there would be growing pains. This was one last night.
99 problems, but love ain't one. I'm with you on that one. Thank you, Wayne.
Have a good weekend, guys.
All right, very good. Wayne Larrivee, brought to you by Cowall Investment Group.